Welcome to Bachademia, a podcast so educational two professors could be hosting it. Hi, I'm Dr. Danielle XC, and joining me is Dr. Bill Henneman.
Welcome everybody to Bachademia. Today we have a very special guest. We have Dr. Elaine Eshbaugh. She's a full professor in gerontology at UNI. And she's my favorite professor. I am her husband. So what do you want to tell us about yourself, Dr. Eshbaugh?
Well, I think the most important thing to mention is that I am upstairs at our house and Bill is currently downstairs and we have 3 dogs. So I am normally, while he is recording, trying to make sure the dogs don't bark and they stay under control. So this is just a warning. It's kind of a free-for-all. We'll just see what happens today.
That is a really good point. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, if they lose their shit, we're just going to have to let it happen.
Yeah.
So anything about your professional career? Anything you want to... Yeah.
So I'm a gerontologist, which means I study the aging process, and my specialty is dementia and caregiving. And there's maybe a little bit of a caregiving tie here, maybe why I got asked to come on this week. And I write a blog called When Dementia Knocks. So if you Google When Dementia Knocks, you'll see a picture of me, and that would be my blog.
Nice.
Awesome.
Danielle, you look so excited right now.
I am.
All right. So we have our question that we start out with every day, every episode. And I found this question and I thought it was hilarious. And then there was a lot of questions. So I found a picture to help explain this. So would you rather be a reverse centaur or a reverse mermaid / merman? And I'm going to do a screen share here. And let's see. So I think, go full professor on y'all. You can see this right now, right? This is the reverse merman. This is the reverse centaur, in case anyone is questioning this.
Can you describe that for listeners?
Yeah, if you do not have thank you for reminding me. I forget people can't see what I can. If you are not watching on YouTube, you basically a reverse merman is human on bottom, fish on top. The picture is basically just a fish head, but we'll go like fish body. A reverse centaur is, instead of having the horse bottom, you have the horse top with the human bottom. So.
All right, so I am going to go with, I've changed my answer since I saw the pictures, because I did not know the mer person. Mm-hmm. The mer person would have arms. I did not picture the mer person with arms, and that changes everything. So I'm going to go with that.
Okay.
See, I think I have to go with a centaur because I'm worried that the fish can't breathe.
Oh no,
it doesn't have to though, does it?
Yeah, you can breathe out of water.
Oh, well, I don't know. I guess I don't know. Scales kind of creep me out. So I'll stay with the horse head.
I think I'm going with the fish, because then I feel like you can breathe both above and in water, which would be a really, really handy ability, you know? All right. I'm glad we didn't get in a fight over that.
I don't know. I'll think about ways to fight this one out.
All right. So, episode in one word. What do you got?
Insecurities.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Oh. Drama.
I'm gonna go with oh man. How about fainting? I'm gonna go with fainting. That started the whole thing.
I was like, what decade, century are we in that like there's like women fainting? It feels like, I was like, are they wearing Spanx? Like, what's happening here?
Yeah.
Her Spanx were too tight. I've never worn Spanx, but I feel like that really tight Spanx could make you faint.
Agree.
If we learned anything about my lack of knowledge of undergarments last week, it would reveal that maybe my Spanx experience is limited as well.
Okay, so we pick up, speaking of fainting, where Sarah basically at the end of the last episode, they take her off, and Matt James is kind of comforting her, and the girls are not happy about this. First off, they were insisting that potentially this was a fake feigning spell and she was doing it for attention. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I just have an idea. Is there, maybe this word already exists, but if you are fake fainting, are you like fainking instead of fainting? Like, was she fainting?
I like that. You know my mashup, my love of mashup of words, honey. Yeah.
We should adopt that word if it doesn't exist. I like if she was fainking or faint.
It sounds kind of a little sexual, but it's not. It's not.
Fainting.
So,
listen, right now we're putting our flag in the ground. Urban Dictionary. This is our word.
If she's faking it, then she's got some things going on. And I think that it's really bizarre to me that all of the women went there, right? That immediately, rather than being empathetic or like worried about her, they're like, that girl's faking it and stealing all my time.
yeah. Well, and there's an interesting dynamic that occurs, I think maybe in this moment, because before this moment, everyone hated Victoria. And now all of a sudden, we've got a reason to hate Sarah. So then Victoria joins up with the gang again, and she's got an in, and she's part of them. So like the dynamic totally changes in terms of the common enemy of the group in that moment where she might have been fainking.
Nothing brings people together, enemies together, like a common enemy of the two enemies. Like that, groups of people, they will band together if they have a reason to dislike somebody. And I don't feel like it works the other way. Like if they have something to work towards, but especially when there's like a shared, like a goal involved that only one person can have.
It's sort of the first time that you feel like Victoria might have some power with her mean girl persona, because before she had it, but she had no minions. You know?
No one liked her.
Right.
Yeah.
No, they kind of jump in line behind her when she starts being snarky, and I didn't see that coming, but she's part of the gang, at least for now, until later in the episode when Alexis Rose, have we talked about how she looks like Alexis Rose?
No, from Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
Alexis does, or
Sarah.
Victoria does.
No, Sarah looks just like Alexis Rose from Schitt's Creek. If you guys continue talking, can I show a picture?
Yeah, go ahead. Elaine is just, she has jumped on. She is basically much like Victoria. I think she's going to take over hosting control. Like she's sending texts to Danielle. She's like, Bill just talks too much. I was saying to Elaine when we were watching this, I can't tell if Victoria is woefully inept or if she is an amazing manipulator. But yeah.
So this is Alexis Rose.
Yeah.
And I think she looks a lot like Sarah. So I've been unintentionally sometimes calling Sarah Alexis Rose. So if I do that, please know I mean Sarah.
Especially when they have makeup on. Like, I think she does her makeup kind of like Alexis, which makes her look even more like her.
Similar hairstyles, colors, coloring.
Yeah.
I see it. I get it.
Yep.
Well, we'll have a lot of time to
and
talk.
The drama thing too, because Alexis Rose is a drama llama, and so is Sarah.
She does love some good drama. So speaking of that, he sends people home. Ileana, I think that's how you pronounce it. Kristen, Marilyn, and Sydney all go home. Any thoughts on the dearly departed? Anything you want to add?
I would like to say to Marilyn, I relate to you because I feel like what happened to you with Victoria was the same thing that happened with me and a girl in the 7th grade, because she went around and told everyone that I called her the B word and I didn't. And I tried to defend myself and it went nowhere. So I totally relate to Marilyn here. I still remember the name of the girl. I won't say it.
You don't
But
want
I
to stir
remember.
up any muscatine drama?
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Elaine, I'm so sorry that you experienced that in 7th grade.
It's really shaped me as a being, as a human.
These moments are our defining moments.
Right. Well, I still remember how many, it's 30, like, oh my gosh, it's like 30 years later. How crazy is that?
Almost
And
to the day.
I remember.
I don't know if it's almost to the day, but I'm going to say to the day, and you had buried it and now we brought it up. And
I'll call my therapist.
The university has counseling services for things like this.
Thank goodness. So I was surprised that he sent Marilyn home instead of Victoria, but I wasn't surprised that he sent Marilyn home because she seemed very insecure and pretty early on. So I think that it was probably best for her that she ended up going home, and I think that was the right decision. But given he kept Victoria after that, was shocking if you don't think about it from the production standpoint, like the producers standpoint.
Well, I thought Marilyn kind of reminded me of Eeyore. And so given the choice between Eeyore and Victoria, who at least it seems like she's entertaining, I guess I would keep Victoria around. I guess on a different podcast, he said she's really funny. Like they had him on and he was like, Victoria's really funny. You don't see it. So
I kind of do see it though. Yeah. I mean, she's mean funny, but there's a funny, like an underlying funny in there.
I think you get a glimpse of it at the group date when they read Erotica.
Yeah.
The other girls are just cracking up, and you do get a little sense from the snippets that we see that
we need to talk about Erotica because I got something for y'all.
And you know, I love a good transition that just organically happens. So let's do it, Danielle. Chris Harrison apparently wrote Erotica, which so people on Twitter kept calling it that, and he is now defending himself. It's a romance novel with a lot of sex in it. It's like, yeah, that's Erotica. Like,
so I have a surprise.
Okay.
I went on Amazon and I have some reviews of Chris Harrison's book.
Oh, yes. Yeah, let's do it.
I want to hear it.
Top three. Okay.
So first of all, 70% of people gave it 5 stars.
Okay.
There's a lot of negative comments though. I was highly disappointed by the more graphic scenes. I'm not one to like those scenes in the first place, but there were 2 in particular that were borderline degrading. Man, if anyone has treated me that way, they would have been met with a sound slap. Though Harrison may have written the book for the right reasons, I feel like it was published to make money off his name and the Bachelor franchise. There are better books by no-name authors.
What would be the right reason to write Erotica? Like,
I don't know, but I need to find it and do it.
There's a word here I don't know, so you're gonna have to help me. And this is the other one I'll read to you. This is from Heather. Her title for her review is Predictable, Boring, Unlikable Characters. The characters are shallow and vapid. What does that mean?
Vapid, I think.
Okay, and not worth your time or attention. This book seems to be a compilation of about 50 other cheap romance novels full of cliches and unimaginative prose. It is just blah, 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 blah all the way through. The characters don't really do anything. The author is overly detailed and descriptive about mundane items while never fully developing the plot. So that's all I got on Chris Harrison's book.
So I have a vapid definition.
Yeah, help me out here.
I could not find it on, what's the Urban Dictionary, which is my first go-to for any dictionary. So I went with Merriam-Webster, the Loser's Dictionary. It says offering nothing that is stimulating or challenging. There you go. All right. So
I will make it a point to read his romance
Please do.
novel
yeah,
at some point.
And write a review.
Absolutely.
yeah, and give it as a gift to your mother-in-law,
Oh,
to your mother-in-law, father-in-law.
yes, that would be wonderful. They would not be shocked if they received it as a gift from me, but they also wouldn't read it.
All right. So Danielle, I think you got extra credit, right?
Ooh.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
So I was really excited that they brought this up. One, because a life goal of mine is to write a romance novel. I'm currently writing a apocalyptic romance play that will be probably directed. I'll probably direct it next spring. So a year from now in the Interpreter's Theater called Day Zero.
Oh my gosh.
I would love to write a romance novel. So I've always been kind of interested in this. At one point, I, did a little bit of research on the Twilight series and published a book chapter about reading the adolescent body in the Twilight books and images and representations of the body, adolescent body. And so when I think about romance novels, one of the first things that I think about is this book. It's from 1984, so it's seasoned, and by Janice Radway, called Reading the Romance. And this was a really important text because in it, Radway challenges myths about why women read romantic fiction and the people who read fiction. So a lot of times people think about women that read romance as being uneducated, vapid, like lacking substance.
Good topical use of
Love
terminology.
it.
Yes. And so what she really found though is that one, a lot of the heroines in romance novels are actually strong, independent, and intellectual women.
Oh.
And she also says that we need to focus as we analyze these texts on the social event of reading. And so she really takes a reader response approach to criticism, which is an important sort of shift in how romance novels were being studied. Someone at UNI, Karen Mitchell, did some research in the 90s about romance novels as well, and published an article called Ever After: Reading the Women Who Read and Rewrite Romances. And then she turned that into a performance that was directed in the Interpreter's Theater as well. And in it really is about the relationships that women create with each other through the act of reading. One of my favorite websites is actually called Smart Bitches Trashy Books. And so there's, a whole sort of collective of women, of course, with e-readers and I think independent publishers and things like that. The genres of romance have really expanded. There's ways that through romance novels you see people modeling healthy relationships. So there's been some studies on how, for example, asking for consent in a sexy way is modeled through romance novels. How you kind of talk about and discuss STIs is like modeled through different scenes written in romance novels. So kind of shifting this idea that, how are romance novels both sort of built on heteronormativity and sometimes problematic gender roles, and also they're simultaneously challenging those concepts, and the readers are as well. So that's a little bit about that. Really quickly though, I do want to let you all know the authors of the books that I was talking about last week. So Queen Bees and Wannabes is by Rosalind Wiseman, and Odd Girl Out is by Rachel Simmons. And I don't know if I got that right last week. So
I like it.
that's my extra.
Write that down. I got it.
I have a question, Danielle.
Yeah.
You know what the difference between romance novels and erotica is? There seemed to be a debate on Twitter, and I didn't quite get a chance to look it up. Or Elaine.
Sex. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I do think
Graphic sex.
yes, graphic sex. I think, like, for example, Nicholas Sparks is romance, right? There's the sexiness is the anticipation of sex more than sex itself. So, like, think even the Twilight series. There's like, somebody wrote like there's more snogging in like Harry Potter than like than actually like in some of the Twilight books. But like what is sexy about is the anticipation of the intimacy. When I think about erotica, so this isn't really based on this. I could probably look this up and find it out from like an academic standpoint, but um also I think the role of plot versus sex. So I think the plot in romance novels is like more important than the sex, where like when you read erotica, it will jump right into it. But of course that the lines are blurred. So I'm like thinking about Outlander series, right? Is pretty hot and graphic at times, but I think that'd still be considered a romance novel.
Okay. Thank you. Like it. All right. So, who had the worst erotica of the women? Well, let me first say Matt James was really bad. Like,
The chocolate cake.
yeah, I didn't get it.
Yeah.
Also, I will point out that they said they needed to write a steamy scene, but it just turned into erotica. Like it went from steamy to sex real quick. Basically, when Dildo Girl and Victoria got a hold of the pen.
So I think Katie was my favorite. I can start with who my favorite
Yeah.
person
So
is.
if we don't have a worst, let's just go with what was the best? What was your favorite? Keep going, Danielle. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I really like Katie. Just because you could tell that it was funny. He said later that he felt like it was vulnerable, so I'm wondering about the parts that we missed out on. I loved watching the girls react. Like they seemed like they were legitimately having fun, said that their mouths hurt from smiling so much. And that was just, I thought that was fun.
Yeah, one thing I really like about this group date is they just seem to have fun, at least, for that portion of it.
Everybody but Sarah.
Huh?
Everybody but Sarah. Sarah was like pearl clutching.
Yeah. I will admit though, through this episode, especially Dildo Girl is really growing on me, and I did not see that coming.
She's great. Also, like sometimes the most mature person there. You're like, how did Dildo Girl get to be like the most emotionally intelligent to, use Bennett?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly my thought.
She has all four of the characteristics.
All four.
All four.
All four. I do think that this would be so embarrassing to do though, or to have to sit there as Matt James and have these girls read this about you. Like it would be embarrassing to do. But I also kind of like being embarrassed, but I'm a weirdo.
I also wondered if they had been drinking or not.
That would help.
Like, I was just curious because I did not see them drinking during it. It wasn't like they were sitting there with a glass of wine. So if they were stone cold sober, good for them.
Yeah, I would need at least 5 to 6 very stiff drinks. I appreciated Victoria mainly because we were talking about this in the COVID watching pod, and I feel like you have two options in this. You either try to write the best erotica ever, which I don't know what that is, or you just go full send and try to make it funny and really lewd. And I feel like that is the space that Victoria worked really well in, especially when they were like, she was reading and it just kept like beeping her out. Like there was a good 5 seconds there where it was just like beep. I thought that was great.
Her Queen references and the way that she played on that was really funny.
Yeah. She seems somewhat self-aware and somewhat not. I can't get a read on her. But all right. So after erotica, they go to drinks. Matt makes out with Rachel. And she gets the rose. And he also makes out with Bree. Any thoughts on their connections?
I just was very confused about why Bree seemed to just be wearing a men's shirt and nothing else.
I didn't notice that. I mean, yeah.
I guess it was a short dress. I don't know. That was, I was so focused on that. Does she have anything underneath? How unbuttoned is it? I really could not get a feel for their connection because I was so interested in her outfit.
I very much feel my age watching the fashion choices of the women on The Bachelor because none of them are wearing cardigans. And so I'm very confused by their clothing choices.
Well, a couple times at the rose ceremony, I wondered if the rose ceremony had a theme like bad prom dresses. And I'm mostly referring to Victoria. Like I wondered if it was like a theme party where you were supposed to wear like the worst prom dress you could find at Goodwill.
All of her dresses are like that though. Like every dress is just like a bad, I don't know. I don't get it.
I mean, there's just some weird fashion stuff happening right now. I'd be really fascinated to see if there's any studies or write-ups about how COVID has influenced people's perceptions of fashion, because like you're not seeing people in the same way. So where are you getting your ideas? Where are you buying your clothes? Like all of these things kind of shift.
That's really interesting.
You really accessorize that dirty sweatshirt with a scarf real nice.
Yeah.
That's the new look. You like old sweatshirt with like a scarf.
Y'all should know I wore jeans the other day. It's because all of the Nike sweatpants I have 9 pairs of the same like Nike warm-up pants, and it's just my uniform for sleeping and for work and everything. But I just want you to know, Friday night I put on jeans.
I think it's always a test where I'm like, oh, maybe I should pay attention to my eating because I put these jeans on and I don't remember them feeling like this. So I will say, I really think that we're going to see more things happen between Matt and Rachel.
Yes, they definitely have a connection, and I feel like they're moving at the same pace. Even in their conversation that was reflected that they are both comfortable with how fast things are moving. So then Sarah comes in, she interrupts Katie. We did a poll on this, if Matt has some responsibility to kind of shut this down. And what we found largely is that people think he has some responsibility. I think we had like 40 respondents and like 90% of the people said he has total responsibility or some. Only 2 people said he has no responsibility.
So I have a thought on this. So let's say, Bill, you wanted to go out for a really nice dinner with me on a Friday night. And Danielle, you wanted to spend time and you wanted to, post-COVID, get a glass of wine. I am not going to let you guys argue about who should get to spend time with me. I'm going to make a decision because I am a grown person instead of letting 2 people like fight it out. But that's what happens. The person sits there while these 2 other people argue instead of the person saying, I would like to sit down with you, or I would like to talk to you, because he doesn't want to upset anyone.
I will also point out that Elaine's an only child. And so in this fantasy, we are fighting over her. Like, it's not like Danielle's my friend.
It's an analogy. And in the analogy, I am Matt James.
I get it. Okay.
I was following.
Thank you.
I think that this must be a really challenging position for the person that is in the lead, because you see this happen in almost every season. But I do think that they have some responsibility. I think maybe at first you're like, hey, I want to see what Sarah's upset with. But after it's been 5 minutes and Katie comes back in, you're like, oh, yep, we're done. Let me walk you out.
I appreciated that Katie then comes back after Victoria. Again, watching Victoria, she's really good at stirring shit up. Tells her to go get her time back. She tries to get her time back. They keep talking. So then she does like the creepy person at a bar waiting for a table and like stands behind him. And then she sits down. They go out. Matt James kisses her. And then Victoria follows Sarah out and kind of confronts her. in a very like mean girl. She's like, I just felt so bad about this. Oh, I felt so concerned for you. And then Katie comes over, Dildo girl, and kind of confronts her about it. Any thoughts on that? Do you felt like Katie handled it well? Thoughts on Victoria?
I appreciated Katie asserting herself. I think that she was also in a really awkward position. And I think that she let Sarah have her time, and then she came back in, and Sarah wanted more time. And I thought that she handled it assertively and probably as politely as one can, given the situation. I think I too am just starting to become a Katie fan. I don't know if I think her and Matt are going to have any chance of ending up together, but I'm rooting for Katie.
I feel like there should be an informational video on for like all contestants on here's how you deal with someone taking your time. Like instead of one, like complaining to the group and like not going back, or two, like complaining to Matt and like, by yourself and whining about it and like perseverating over it for the next 12 days. Like she did her thing and like seemed to kind of move on. So
I'm a little worried about Sarah.
yeah.
At this point, I don't know that she's going to go home. And you can sort of empathize with how difficult this whole situation must be. And yeah, you go into the situation knowing it, but I also think that sometimes people don't anticipate having actual feelings, or it's just a weird situation to be in. But at the same time, you're also just like, it's kind of selfish, right?
So I thought about this, and it seems like there's one or maybe two every season that I almost think, you're right, like maybe they didn't anticipate the feelings, but sometimes I feel like they're a little narcissistic, where it's like, I am feeling this way and no one has ever felt this way. And I feel like, did you not know what was going to happen on the show? So I feel like it's a little bit narcissistic. Like there's 20 other girls here, or 18 or 16 or however many, and I'm the only one who's struggling with this. You don't know how I'm struggling with this. Instead of understanding that obviously there are feelings involved for everyone there who wants to spend time with Matt and have had their moments and then have to watch other moments. Like with Sarah, I want to be like, what you're feeling is, I don't want to say normal, because the Bachelor isn't like a normal setting, but what you're feeling is a normal response to that situation. Everyone else is feeling it too. They're dealing with it.
Mm-hmm.
So to segue that in, Serena P gets her date, and as Matt comes to pick her up, he wants to say something about how that whole situation went down that night. And then he realizes Sarah's not there, and he says, can I have 5 minutes? And he goes upstairs to talk to Sarah, furthering this divide between the women and Sarah. Thoughts on that? Our friend Christy, hi Christy, if you're listening, said that she thinks he has like a hero complex, and like that he has to like be the hero. He's really in it to like save girls and emotionally support them. And I kind of agree with that. I think he's very much into this like hero man thing.
I felt like it was disrespectful to Serena because, I mean, weren't they like laying on a bed and he like kissed Sarah? And I just like, you're mentally preparing yourself to go on a date with Serena. And so I felt like that was disrespectful to Serena.
Because I have a guilty conscience by nature about everything, I don't think I'd be able to like make out with one girl and then go and with another. I'd be like, can they smell? Do they know? Are they mad about it? Like I would just have so much anxiety about it.
That's a whole weird thing about this whole show, right? That's one of the things I can't imagine.
Right.
So, yeah. in a way, I feel like if you're going to be the lead on this show, you have to kind of compartmentalize, where it's like, I'm with this one person, I'm focusing on this one person, I'm there for this one person, but then you have to do this super quick shift and do the same thing with another person. And I don't always know if that's the best way to build a relationship, but I think that's the way your mindset has to be.
I wonder if the producers vet the primary person really well. Like, do they have a psychological test where it's like giving them a situation? It's like, you make out with one girl, you have the following choices, rank from 1 to 5. Like,
If they do that, I mean, I'm sure that they have a process, but if they do that, like we're talking about, then there's no way Pilot Pete would have ever been the Bachelor.
or Claire. It's like, you meet one guy, what do you do? Stop. Which, by the way, Claire and Dale are no longer.
Let's talk about that. Yeah.
They're gone.
They're done.
Yeah.
Now, he announced it on his Instagram. Dale announced the breakup on his Instagram, but Claire hasn't said anything yet, has she?
I have not seen anything as of about an hour ago.
I was surprised because like 3 days before that, they posted like kissy kissy pictures.
Yep, and Dale said the only reason he went on was because of Claire.
I don't know.
Well, we'll see him in Bachelor.
It was fun while it lasted.
He will be on Bachelor in Paradise, and I guarantee she will be.
Oh, that'll be amazing.
And it'll just be, yeah. Okay, back to the, God, Claire's taking more time away from important primaries, just like, so we find out that James loves turtles. Serena does not think they make good pets. My mother-in-law loves sea turtles. I actually have a license plate cover that says sea turtles rock. So I am pro sea turtle, or turtles in general.
Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom.
We love sea turtles too.
Yep. Thoughts on the connection between Serena P and Matt? There wasn't much that happened on that date. They saw donkeys. I thought that was kind of cute. They seemed to connect pretty well, and then it was over.
I really like Serena. I think she's bubbly. She's like there's some signs that I think she's pretty intelligent. Just some jokes that she's made and things like that require a certain amount of wit, I guess. It is hard to tell with their relationship though, because she does seem like, she said, I'm falling into like with you, where that just is a bit slower than the other girls, but I don't necessarily think that's an unhealthy way to go about things.
I like that because to me, it's honest and logical and reasonable, rather than telling someone you love them when you've spent 3 hours total with them, which to me is just meaningless,
Or if you can fall, well, yeah. I think probably if you're somebody who falls in love within 3 hours, you do it quite a bit, like you've probably fallen in love with multiple people. And then I feel like probably the quicker you fall in love with somebody, if you do it on a regular basis, the more likely you are to quickly fall out of love. And I think
that's a tie into Claire.
Yeah.
That's exactly a tie into Claire. She fell in love very quickly, and then look where she is now.
Yeah. Wow. We really set that one up. Bang! Spike it down.
It's this couple chemistry we got, Bill.
Yeah. When people think of us, they think of chemistry. That is the word that comes up. So we're gonna go back to Sarah. Kind of out of order, but here we go. The date card comes. Sarah tries to mend fences with the girls. It does not go well. Specifically, Victoria kind of becomes the ringleader. Do you think they were too mean to her? Like when she was trying to apologize, she was trying to explain herself. Obviously, they're angry. And there were some girls that had articulate kind of, here's why I'm mad. And then there's girls like Victoria who are like, I don't accept your apology.
Well, I don't know what Sarah's supposed to do at this point now that she's already done what she's done, right? So I think that she tries to apologize. She tries to be upfront and I think they want to why. They want to know, well, what were you talking with him about? And she's like, well, that was private. And I respect, I guess, her need to want to keep that private, but I do understand from the other girls' perspectives where I'm like, if you're going to behave like this and take this time repeatedly, I need to understand that it was done for an important reason. So I don't know. What a conundrum.
I felt like Victoria at that point was kind of like Brick from Anchorman, just like yelling loud noises. Like, I don't think she actually had any reason to be angry. She just really wanted to stir it up, which I love. Like,
But I also think going back to this, you mentioned earlier that the very academic common enemy theory, like nothing builds a relationship like having a common enemy. It's like they hated Victoria. Now they hate Sarah more. So Victoria's on the team. And I think she's really trying to play that up. And she's kind of back in. And now, obviously Sarah leaves. I'm not sure where that hate goes. Maybe it goes back to Victoria. Maybe it goes to somebody else. I don't know.
well, they're bringing new girls on next
I
time.
forgot about that.
So I have a feeling that I feel like Victoria is really going to thrive next episode, because I think she is going to become the queen of the old girls, and they are just going to just go after the new girls, and it is going to be like lionesses on a herd of gazelle.
So,
figure out why so many girls this season. They have way more contestants than they ever have. And I do think that it's changing the dynamics of things. And maybe that's the reason that they're doing it. They want to see if that produces some sort of a different result. But like, I'm shocked that they're bringing other girls on, not because, they do this. It seems to be a trick, right? But there's just so many of them.
So my mom called us last night, and we had my mom on speakerphone, and she had
I forgot about this.
She had a really interesting theory that the producers have a bunker, and they keep women in the bunker. And then when the show just gets a little bit boring or they're not sure where it's going, they just pull them out and send them into the house. But there's a bunker of them.
Her direct quote was, "There must be a bunker of girls. I don't know where this bunker is," but then they just pull them out.
I'm imagining like a Kimmy Schmidt situation.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was a COVID protocol. Like, I think they got more girls than they needed in case some got sick or couldn't make it. And they're like, well, we got them. We might as well throw them on the show. So
I'm interested to see who the girls are. And sort of why now?
right.
In some ways it would make more sense to me if we were whittled down to a few less girls and they had good relationships, but there's still a lot of people that you're like, I don't know what's happening with them.
Yeah, there's several girls that they came on the screen and I was like, I don't know who that is. So
Well, they're from the bunker.
bunker girls.
They're the bunker girls.
Yeah.
So next week I won't be here, but you guys will need to talk about the bunker girls.
Bunker girls. Yeah. That's what we're going to refer to them as for the rest of the season. So Dildo Girl comes to Sarah later and has this very nice moment where she says, I was not okay with how mean the girls were to you. I apologize. And Sarah opens up about her dad. So part of the reason we have Elaine on the show is, one, because she's amazing, and two, because she's really amazing as an expert in the field of caring for family members who have dementia. So I am going to donate my extra credit time to Elaine. Take it away, Dr. Eshbaugh.
So I will clarify, my expertise is in caregiving for dementia. I do stuff on caregiving more generally, or just family caregiving. ALS is not something that we often hear of causing dementia, but sometimes we do have people in the late stages who have difficulties cognitively. So there is some relationship here with what I study. But I did a study about 2 or 3 years ago, and this is part of the data that we actually did not publish, but about 30% of caregivers, family caregivers, those caring for a loved one with a progressive illness, 30% had symptoms of depression. About, I think it was 27% had symptoms of anxiety. So caregiving is tough. And I will also say, and I need to throw this in here, we talk about a lot of times the negative aspects of family caregiving. It's also rewarding. People also have a sense of accomplishment from it. So, most people will say it's not a negative experience, but there are symptoms, particularly of stress and anxiety that come along with that. And one thing we know about stress and anxiety in general, and that stress and anxiety that comes along with caregiving, is it doesn't stay in this caregiving area. So, it's similar to most things in life, where if you have stress caused by one thing, you use a lot of your emotional resources and your coping resources for kind of this big thing that's going on in your life. And then you blow up and cannot deal with your shit on this tiny little thing that seems almost inconsequential. And in this case, I'm not saying that being on The Bachelor is inconsequential, because it's obviously very important to Sarah. But if you think about being on The Bachelor versus her dad having a terminal disease, I wonder if maybe her coping mechanisms are just kind of shot. So I did make a comment earlier about her being a little bit narcissistic, like no one else feels like this. Everyone's dating my boyfriend and no one understands. Well, guess what? They do. They feel the same way. They just cope. But I'm wondering if maybe her coping resources are just exhausted, and it's making that a little bit more difficult. And I struggle with her leaving. The girls were mean to her. Her dad is likely going to die soon. I just feel like she's been dealing with a lot, and I do think going home for her was absolutely the right decision.
But Danielle thinks she might not be gone.
Oh,
Right?
Oh,
You mentioned that
tell me
second.
more.
You said, I don't know if she's really going to go home.
well, I just kind of wondered. It seemed like they had so much of a connection. I didn't know if she was gonna reappear. Sometimes that happens, that someone leaves or chooses to leave. They regret their decision once they're gone, and then they come back. And, given the way that he did give her attention over and over again when she sought it out, it seems like they must have some sort of a connection there. And so I didn't know if that would be something we were gonna get hit with later.
Well, I agree with that. Also, I feel like the show so far has really focused on two bachelorettes primarily. So it's Victoria and Queen and that drama, and then it's been Sarah / Alexis Rose and her story. And I feel like those are the two big, quote, plot lines or storylines at this point. And usually when something is a big plot line and they leave, there's a good chance we're going to see them again, because they've given them a lot of screen time. So you may be right.
If not, maybe she'll end up being on Bachelor in Paradise later on or something.
That might be interesting.
So Elaine, I do have one other question, because you have talked about this before. When it comes to caregiving for family members, oftentimes it is either a daughter or like a daughter-in-law, right? That ends up carrying, that might be something interesting to.
Yeah. So an interesting point. If you are an older woman, there is a more, let's see if I can explain this, more than 50% chance you will someday live in a nursing home, unless you have 3 or more daughters or daughters-in-law. Does that make sense? Am I explaining that well? So as a woman who's aging, so typically what happens in the caregiving process is that women care for their husbands die. This is because life expectancy for women is longer than men, and then women are left to be cared for, typically by other people. And those other people are usually their offspring or the spouses of their offspring, but it does fall more to females. I tried to, when I got married, avoid this problem by marrying Bill. He's 5 years younger than me. So my hope is that I don't have to spend a long time in that caregiving phase. So I always tell my female students, if you don't want to care for your husband, watch your husband die, you need to marry somebody younger. But I'm telling this to like 19-year-olds. So I tell them to wait to pursue this person, because at that point it would actually be like illegal and distasteful.
It's great advice.
Yeah, same.
And that's what you learn in gerontology classes.
Yeah, wow. You and I, gerontology. Yep. So Danielle, you've alluded to this, but I feel like America is in love with Katie now. She has become Jiminy Cricket for the group of women. She goes in, she tells them, hey, Sarah's leaving because of this with her dad. We need to be classy about this. I don't think Victoria heard that. She was like smirking and clapping. But all the other women were like, okay. Then Sarah goes to tell Matt she's going home because of her dad and that the girls are mean. So I have a couple questions. One, did she really need to tell him that the girls were being mean? Any thoughts on that? Of course not. I thought it seemed a little like petty at the end.
Well, I thought she was going to drop some names, but she didn't. So at least there's that.
Well, she also told Katie it wasn't because the girls were mean. So I thought that seemed a little disingenuous to tell her, like, if you're going to throw people under the bus, at least when they ask you directly, throw them under the bus.
I wondered if it was a way to sort of shift responsibility from herself for the decision she was making, right? Like, oh, this isn't a decision that I'm just making for me. This is also because I've been treated poorly. You know, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll try not to pathologize her, but
that's the whole point of the show, Danielle.
You're right. Actually, never mind. Let's go for it.
Elaine, were you going to say something? I thought you were getting ready. No?
I don't remember. I'm good.
Okay. All right. So then as she's leaving and she's crying, she said Matt let her go because he sees her heart. Any thoughts?
So here's the thing. Why are people not independent human beings? Matt did not let her go. He can't keep her against her will. It's
or the show. Yeah, it becomes a totally different show. Then it becomes a horror show where Matt is like hunting her around Pennsylvania.
Yeah, he let her go. Yeah. No, she would have to go back to the bunker. He'll get her and send her back to the bunker for.
You get recycled back into the bunker.
I know.
I think that there's crap. I lost my train of thought. Let me see if I can catch it again.
You were thinking about the bunker.
I got distracted by the bunker. It's like such a great mental image.
Like, what do they eat in the bunker? Is it dark? Is it like the bunker in the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt?
Yeah, they have to turn the crank.
We need to talk about the bunker.
I felt like I thought that she wanted him to convince her to not go. I thought that some of this was all about reassuring her insecurities. So I was sort of surprised when she actually did go, because I thought that some of this was like, oh, Matt, like, I don't know, this is so hard for me, I don't want to go, and her wanting him to go, like, you can't leave, you're my favorite, right? Like, and then, so then when that doesn't happen and he says, well, if you need to go, you need to go, then it's, oh, well, he let me go because he can see my heart. So even him letting me go is about his like affection for her. I don't know.
That's how she reframes it.
In my retelling of her thoughts, yes.
I like it. So we're to the end. Episode and a statement. I will start, and I will just put my favorite Victoria quote from the episode, which apparently is how I'm going to do this every episode now. I don't think I've ever fainted for attention. I don't think I've ever fainted. That was the best Victoria quote. And I think it sums up the episode very nicely.
So she's never fainted or fanked.
Fanked. She's never, I've never fainted or fainted.
So I think that my line is something like, sometimes when you seek attention, you get attention you don't want.
Oh, like the boy who cried wolf.
Well, yeah, sort of. That, Sarah was seeking attention from Mad James, but got attention from the girls she didn't want.
The mean girl horde.
So I heard something the other day that kind of made me reflect on maybe my own life and the situations that I put myself in. You can't blame clowns for being clowns when you choose to go to the circus. And when I say that, what I mean is these girls come on the show like Sarah, and they get mad because the other girls also want to spend time with the Bachelor. And it's like you're walking into a circus. Like, it's the Bachelor, it's the Bachelorette. You're walking in there. And that other people are also wanting to date this guy. That's going to happen, but you act very surprised. But you chose that situation. And you can't blame the other girls for being mean when the other girls are trying to protect their time with Matt, which is what everybody does on the show. Has she never seen the show? Bill and I were talking last night, like, is there an orientation that tells you, hey, other people are going to date this guy you like?
See,
No
I told her they probably give her like a fake orientation where they're like, listen, you will get all the time you want with him. No one's going to kiss him but you. And then they're like dance puppets.
I feel like this has to be in the like small print, right? Like they probably fill out a lot of paperwork.
But they probably don't read it.
Sign their life away.
Yeah, I don't read that small print. Yeah. All right. Elaine, you get the last word, Dr. Eshbaugh. Shout outs.
Well, I would like to thank my COVID pod squad that watches the show with us every Monday night, because at the beginning of this, I bought a crock pot, and every night I was experimenting making things in the crock pot, and they ate them all and said they were good, even if they weren't. And then just like last week, I got an air fryer. So same thing. So now they're putting up with the experiments in the air fryer. So in one of the interesting positive things about 2020 is I kind of learned to cook in 2020. So thank you all for eating what I make. Shout out to Sue and Danielle, my mom and my mother-in-law, because they love the podcast. And other than that, we have a new president. It's a good day, and make good choices. Don't do drugs.
I like it.
Okay.
Yay.
That's a good way to end. Everybody have a good rest of your week.
You bet.
You've been listening to Batchademia with your hosts, Doctors Daniel Dick McGew and Bill Henniger. All opinions expressed on this show are solely the opinion of the person who spoke them. If you like our podcast, please consider following us, leaving us a 5-star rating, and a positive review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Also, please share with your friends, family, and other ardent Bachelor content lovers. If you have comments or questions you would like us to address on the show, you can email us at batchademia@gmail.com or on the Twitter with the handle @batchademia. Thanks for listening.